Chair. Can I just clarify? Naseby Road can only start one way from the junction with Hazel Beach Road. The rest of the way yes.
I'm going to take questions. Thank you so much, Carl, for presenting that. I'll take questions in the order that I've seen people raise their hands, and we'll take sets of 3 questions at a time, just so that we can ensure we get to hear from as many people as possible. And if I can just ask to just sort of keep it to this item. So I'll take we've got the back 2 and then Ishraq.
Sorry, it's become a very time ago. Some years ago, and this is recently before as well. We've done the wonderful people on the road, or objective, and that was not fruitful. I'm looking to see if we can do something on the road, Alexander Way, and also Lewis Road. And just bear in mind that Eton Boys School was open, and they were supposed to make a one-way system around Blackville and some road. That's not being fulfilled either. So some roads in the way, some people are not fulfilled, others are objecting because the face is always. I speak out and people object. That's not right. I'm pleading for the community, speak for the community, and you people in the council should be listening through the council. But if you take on before you building around there, you should do that first. Because that competition came in 2-3 years ago.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
I've noted your comments, but as I said, we'll take them in rounds of 3s, and we can come back and address some of the things that you've raised.
There's one thing that you've not mentioned to everybody here. I emailed back requesting some further information on what's going on in relation to this meeting, and one of the replies I've got is that the funding that's been allocated will also take into account any funding that's been used from the Brum Breeds. So the £80,000, if you previously, I'll read out what I've had back from your team, is that this is new funding allocation for each ward. Alum has been allocated £80,000 to spend over the 2-year period. The fund was previously known as Brum Breeds. If the ward has spent all or part of the fund when it was formerly known as Brum Breeds, then this amount is deducted from the ETNF allocation. So obviously that information, we need to know what's being used, what it's being used for, and what allocation is left, because that 80,000 is a false information on the basis that you guys should have the other information on what's being used in the previous allocation and what is actually left for this. And the final point to make on this, I've made a note, is what impact assessment and costing have you done in relation to what you just suggested in relation to some of the one-ways and humps and things that you've done? Because some of the humps that you've done and one-ways haven't worked.
I can second that. I live on Apple Road. There's loads of humps. You want people to start speaking of these cameras.
I've noted again, and we just stick to what we said in terms of rounds of 3s.
Thank you. Unfortunately, from what you have proposed, it clearly shows that neither yourself or the council, for whatever reason, understand what's happening in the area. For where you're saying there's going to be drop curbs, there's already drop curbs on Kitchener Road and side roads already where people who push kids are using that. What we want to find out is what are you genuinely going to do with a consultation period with the wider part of Alum Rock, and then Highfield Road, you want to put trees there. What's going to happen to the people that park their cars there, number one? And that's not going to alleviate the issue of the pigeons and the feeding of the pigeons on that part of the road.
Okay. So I'll take next round of hands after we address these. The first, did you want to come in on the first issue that you were saying around the school?
Yes, there's another petition from Rockville Road, Addison Road. Mainly it was from Rockville Road. But all the majority of the people from Woodlands Road, Woodlands Road, and Addison Road, and a few others, they objected to that. So that's why it was taken
Certainly on the issues that you raised about other parts of the ward that would benefit from having either a one-way system, the areas that you've said, obviously Rockville, Underhill, those areas that are actually on the lists that we've had. So what Carl said at the beginning of the meeting was actually, this isn't like a new kind of wish list that we created at the start. There are a number of proposals and sort of key potential schemes that the local engineer team was aware of. They've obviously done some sort of further work in terms of the money that we've got available at the moment to look into see which scheme has a potential can be supported this time around, because this is the first time that the consultations opened on these sort of surrounding roads that we've mentioned. It's time for residents to give us that feedback. If people of sort of Naseby, Hazel Beach, and sort of Farndon, Tipston, this area, if they come back and say to us, because they've got the chance to do that, or if I hear them residents in this meeting saying we don't want this, then it doesn't mean that we've made a decision to spend it either. So the whole point of even having this item at this meeting is so we don't just have those residents being able to feed that in, but going back to your point about the wider community being able to feed in or give their feedback on issues or areas of concern around where this money should be spent or can be spent or better spent, then this is more or less the kind of space that you can do that in. Outside of this meeting, residents can always go and they can write to us and tell us as part of the ETNF consultation, can you feed that into the local engineer team, and when you're making the final decisions, we will ensure that all voices are heard around that. Okay. We're more than happy to take on board the issues that you've raised, and where it adds value. Where it adds value to do visits, we will do that.
Because the councillors did not go through, they made sure that one-way system was created there. And now because there's no councillor living on the road, or the road that has gone away, nothing's going to happen. And you need to look at issues that we're raising, and look at road and traffic management.
Yeah.
That's more important than what Labour Party members are talking about.
Okay, so the way in which the sort of suggested schemes have been brought together in terms of the technical things, Carl will be able to pick up, including impact assessment and the issues that you raised. So we can sort of move on to that. But just to add about why this one was more of a suggestion is because obviously it does serve local schools as well. Not to say that there isn't any local schools around Rockville, obviously with Eden there. So okay, not to say that that isn't a local school, but because of obviously the purpose of this fund around increasing road safety, especially where there are children and schools nearby. That was one of the reasons why it's still in a consultation period. But in terms of coming out and doing visits, we're more than happy for us to arrange something. And if you think that an earlier morning time is where it's most hectic and most unsafe, then we'll take that on board. The question around the technical thing, Carl will be able to pick up. But your question about the response that you received, making reference to the Brum Breeds Fund, I can confirm that the entire £80,000 is still available to the Alum Rock Ward. So through Brum Breeds scheme, no money has been spent or allocated. So we're giving correct information. There is nothing being hidden about previous funding.
I'm not saying what I'm saying is the email I've had says that the £80,000 is subject to if funding was used previously. But had you alluded to that at the beginning, saying that funding has not been used, then we'd understand that 80,000 has been allocated.
I think the email that you had from officers was just to explain that if you'd have previously, heard of Brum Breeds, it then sort of evolved into this fund. Yeah.
Well, if we met you councillors on a regular basis, then you probably would have known.
Yeah.
I've got an email from 2015 going onwards. I could give you a list where I've emailed you guys. You don't want to reply.
Okay. That's fine. We can.
It would also be helpful if you explain that you haven't got a board plan. That's what Brum Breeds funding wasn't even trying to work.
That's not accurate at
It
all,
is.
actually.
I've got it from your office.
But I'm not going to go into a debate with you right now on this. I'm going to ask, just before more questions, I'm just going to ask Carl to just pick up on the sort of impact assessment and how the work was done around potential for this site.
Yeah, so as I say, we look at requests, we look at complaints, we look at the issues in the local area, and then we design what we think will complement the proposal and what will work. And we believe 3 road bumps in each road will significantly slow the speed of traffic in those roads. We do a speed survey as well afterwards to see what the impact was and to make sure it's effective.
And how are they identified? So these locations,
The locations, the roads of concern are what's fed to us by residents, councillors. We receive many hundreds of complaints a month and requests, whether through fixed high streets, Birmingham, inquiries. There's half a dozen platforms by which people contact us with issues. Thank you.
And then the only other thing remaining on this round was your question around trees being placed at the corner of the junction proposed. The trees will be where the parking spaces are currently. They will be on the pavement, so there won't be any impact to a reduction of parking spaces as a result of having any trees planted. If residents feel that they don't want any trees, then you tell us that feedback as well. This was just a suggestion to try and make the sort of the main shopping area a bit of a nicer place, and then maybe with the trees there, then the birds will have somewhere else to go as well.
Footpath is so uneven, I find it difficult to walk past.
Okay, so
Is
this
that
is-
something 6-7 down the road?
Yeah, I mean, the trees will look at having root directors, so the trees, the roots shouldn't affect the footway.
I see your parks people cutting trees down in the corner of the park. Where the need is, they don't go there. The unnecessary work they're doing. By the Foxton Road entrance, they're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
And these sort
I'm
of-
ever so sorry. I'm going to have to hear your points, but just because I know others have got their hands up to talk on this item, we've responded to all the points that you've asked so far. I'm just conscious that we should hear from everyone who hasn't already spoken. So
we
I'm
haven't
just,
seen for so many years.
I know I'm here now though. I know I'm here now though. That's fine. Okay. I'm just. Can I just take rounds of 3? I'll take you first.
Yeah, we welcome your idea for the Naseby Road to Hasby Road to One-Way Road. We don't ask for long time. Lucky enough, we got some sort of funding, so we welcome that. What we want from Naseby Road to Clipstone Road, the rest of it is going to be normal, or what's happening? You go straight into the Foxton Road, or are you plan that? From Naseby Road to downhill Hasby Road. My next road is Clipstone Road and Fordham Road. So why do you think it's a good thing? We had a lot of issue in the corner of Naseby Road and Hasby Road, a lot of collision between the school, everything. And we asked for a long time for one road anyway. So my question is, you going to straight into down to the Foxton Road, or you going to only up to Clipstone Road?
Up to Farnham Road.
Up to Fordham Road.
Yeah.
What's up to the Clipstone Road? You can come through to go to normal.
If you're going down, you won't be able to come.
That's what question I was asking.
From Foxton Road and whatever, you can come and go. You have to go.
The question is, we want from Naseby Road to Clipstone Road, that's not, there's no issues. If we can't come from Foxton Road to Potter Road up to my house, Clipstone Road, I have to go to round to come back to my Clipstone Road, everybody has problems.
The one way will be from Naseby to Farnham.
Yeah, but that's what I want to change. I want to change from Naseby to Clipstone Road, the rest of the road is as a normal. There's no issue down the bottom. The only issue is going up Naseby Road, both sides, and you come to Alum Road, you come to this National Road and school. They merge to, that's the issue is. But down the bottom, I don't issue in the road.
The feedback we've had and the way we've designed it is up to Farnham, so people can still use Foxton to go to Farnham. If through the consultation people don't want it or don't want it that far, it can be re-looked at, but we don't know yet.
I want you to look at it, that's what I told William and Councillor, they look into the issue. And second question is, Mark, you, whatever humps you're talking about, we already have a 20 speed sign. People still driving fast enough. I don't think it helped with the humps. So I don't think any, because we had issue humps before in Naseby Road. They removed it because it wasn't help at all. I think they got to waste money.
And lots of the roads at the moment, including Hazel Beach, have got cushions. Cushions are designed to be straddled by emergency services, but a lot of people can also straddle them with SUVs and bigger cars. A road hump is much more effective. You can't straddle a road hump, but they are effective.
I can't see people believe they are, as we see Naseby Road, we done before, but nobody slowed down anything. They find what are the road speeds. They don't care about the road speeds.
I understand. And that's
But I
why
want to look at the issue from Clipsal Road to Naseby Road to both sides. We want to stop by the Clipsal Road one way road. We are really appreciate if you look at both roads and so that rather than go up to Farton Road.
I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of congestion.
No, there's not just much as road from
You can look into the residents.
Doesn't make any difference from Farton Road to come back to Foxhall Road to Farton Road. It's not much as the only problem we have to pull up Naseby Road. That's the big issue. No money.
That's fine. Okay, we'll make a note of that, but if I can just encourage residents with the letters that you've had, if you can also send them back, that would be helpful. Yeah, thank you. I'm doing the order first, Arshit first, and then.
Just two suggestions. We raised this with the previous entity, the Enburn. When we talk about health and safety, we've got pedestrian lights on Alum Road, which are away from Anthony Road. And we've got 3 schools which basically children are crossing over. We've asked for those pedestrian lights to be removed on the corner of Naseby Road and Anthony Road. That's not happened. And they were looking into it, but engineers are thinking the way they're thinking the cost of moving them is going to be too much. And you've got to look at the safety of it, where the children are actually crossing. So you've got Shore Hill School, you've got Nansen and Rockwood, and also Eden, where young children are actually crossing. So you need to have a look at that. Secondly, when you said you're planting trees on Gavin Road and you want to make the area look nice, I think it's the rest of the street that you need to have a look at as well. I'm not just here on behalf of my community member. I'm also here as a trade association's chairperson. So I will speak to the engineers afterwards, but these are the kind of things that you need to have a look at. So that's my 2 suggestions.
Yeah,
How
okay.
long is that?
That's fine.
Right, you're talking about making all these roads one way. Have you tried driving down them in the night? They're all double parked, right? And if you go down Alum Road, residents on Alum Road, you've got signs up which don't let them park there from 7:45 in the morning to 9:15 in the morning. Someone who comes over at 6 o'clock on a night shift, they've got nowhere to park on Farnham Road because they're double parked. And the sign stop parking on Alum Road, and if they park there, they make up to a £35 fine. I know residents who have got about, in the last month, about 3 worth of fines. And I've requested those signs or those fines to be removed on many occasions. So what are we doing about that?
Okay, fine. Did you want to pick up around the pedestrian
yeah, so
crossing first?
we can look at the pedestrian crossing issue. It is about money as well. We need to know where the money will come from for a particular scheme first. For example, a new pedestrian crossing of a push button, not linked to traffic signals, just on its own, is around £120,000. Previous to this ETNF funding, the wards generally had £20,000. So this is a huge increase, but it still doesn't touch the amount of money required for something like moving a set of signals or extinguishing one and creating another one. These requests remain on our list, but it's not until we get the significant funding that we can do something like that.
But when you've got the 4 schools literally within that area, doesn't the council think that the cost of it is over £120,000 is worth more than a child's life?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because that's what you're saying to me now, that £120,000 is going to cost. Right, so rather than a child gets hurt here, that's not worth anything, that £120,000 worth more. What you should be saying is that, you know what, we're going to look at that and see how we can actually fix that, rather than just saying, well, £120,000. Because
because a child's life is worth more than a little.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you.
And I think just to remind everyone, even if there aren't solutions to some of the issues that you're raising, the point is that we're making note of all of them. That will continue to feed into any potential conversations that we can have behind closed doors around, potential future schemes. So I, hear what you're saying entirely, which is why I thought pertinent to at least have it addressed to get an understanding of the, the values. Definitely not, £120,000 is not worth more than any child's life. And as a mom myself, I think that I can, vouch for that even more. But I think that it's just to remind that we're literally making notes of things, which is why even the scheme that we're talking about came about from a number of different sort of, residents getting in touch and raising those sorts of issues. The issue that you raised around the parking on the main Alum Road, funnily enough, when this scheme came about, I asked the engineers team whether we could have the TRO, the traffic regulation order, on the stretch that you're referring to, amended so that residents who do have to be inconvenienced by having to wake up early in the morning, go get into their cars, move their cars for that 90-minute window, a 90-minute window, to then try and find parking in that difficult time, and then, now 90 minutes later you're able to park again. I did ask and I checked to see if it was one of the ones, because unfortunately the eligibility around this fund is not around increasing parking spaces. So this is what this is what we're told is around.
So where do you want to park?
Well, this is a separate conversation. So parking permits. We can pick up a question around the potential of general parking permits if you wanted to go into that. But I'm just conscious I'm going to just take your question and then what you said about permits. It's good to have the local engineer manager who can probably tell us the scheme.
Everybody has a different view. If you take it, give note, maybe 105 million pound here, that's not enough. Just the same. I appreciate city council. They take a little step. Okay, they do a few roads, one is system and that. I'm myself opinion. I'm quite happy. If you done this one, then you think about the other section up with the road, will do what they're doing. But when the people complain, some of the things are my question is, when you want to start, you just asking, or maybe that 1 year plan, 2 year plan, or maybe 3 months you starting, I don't know. You should, and the second one, problem with driveway is that all roads, maybe people have protection on it. I applied to council, I give the application, they charge me 60 pounds. Inspector come down, he said, gentlemen, 1 foot your place is short, you can't make driveway. But 99% these all roads, they make it driveway. No one asks, what's the point to take action? Is it going to take any action about it? Or the people that they do the right thing or wrong?
Okay. Thank you for your comments. I'm
Can
going to
I
bring
this
you.
book?
Yes, no, I'm sorry.
I don't agree with the umps in Brixton. My wife suffers with spine trouble with arthritis. And regarding the trees, why do you spend money on trees and you can't make it? What's all roads are disgusting. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to keep track of the questions and comments that we had. So about the TRO on Alum Road, it is on our radar again, and I can confirm that before the consultation letters went out, I had a conversation.
So we're just going to carry on getting fines until why is it
Actually, that is what I paid, he paid, he wanted like that, I want like that. Just for one hour, we can't get up and come and do the park. In front of house, we can't park because it's the rules.
Okay.
I think the issue is not just parking, it's the way the actual from the bottom of Alum Rock all the way to the top. There's three different kind of timing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got Alum Rock Road, you can park between 7 and 1, and then opposite side from 1 till 7. But when you come down from Parkview Road upwards, it's different timings. So that needs to be looked at. So all you need to do is change boards on there to say well you can park on this at this time. So when you said that, 90 minutes, you've got to get up and go and park the car, we're That's the problem, is the way
They're all double parked, there's literally nowhere to park.
Yeah. You know,
If you want to come out at that time and show me where to park.
I'm not going to ensure you I will not be coming out and showing you where to park at the time. We can pick up on the last couple of comments if you can pick it up. Thank you. Yeah, we'll take this round.
Yeah, so on the parking, on the traffic regulation order, as a councillor said, this money isn't to encourage parking, so we couldn't use it to remove parking restrictions to encourage parking. We can use other money, any other budgets and pots, to do what we call a traffic regulation order. We have to consult with everybody affected and those within 50 metres, advertise in the press and on the street. It's a mandatory statutory process. It costs about £7,000-8,000, and if everybody agrees, then yes, the timings can be changed, or the whole thing can be removed, and it can be a free-for-all, if you like. The money can't be used for resident parking either. So that's the limitations. If we had a lot of money that was different to this, and if it was a priority compared to other requests, yes, we could remove what's there or change it. But at the moment, we haven't got that alternative money to do it. But it's on our list, along with many, many things.
Okay. I'm going to bring in people who haven't Sorry, I don't know.
Just one line, is that where the council's going to find that money and challenge the council to get that money? Is that
That's very anybody in the they're happy with that. Why good thing, why would they happy with that? But it's coming.
I'm just counting that.
Councillor, you know for a fact that Alum Road is the second highest ticketed street in the whole England. Where is that money going?
I just need to bring, if I can just bring the meeting back to sort of order, because what we're having is people who have got their hands raised and are probably going to be raising issues that you all agree with. So if we can just show them a bit of respect so that they can have their say. Otherwise, it will just continue to be a dialogue back and forth, and that's not how to conduct, a board forum meeting. We've had one after a long time in person. We want to continue to have them in person, but we need to make sure that those who are sitting, waiting with their hands up, get to speak as well. That's the only fair way to do that. So I'll bring you in next.
So I'm going to go back to a few things I've said. So I'm also going to assume that they're going to be addressed in the last point of the agenda. If you're looking at making Alum look prettier with some trees, then why are we not looking at all the rubbish and all the litter? Please don't say there's no laws for litter, because maybe there should be. And that's what we should be advocating for. Because it's feeling like increasingly living inside of green at the moment. And it's getting ridiculous how much rubbish there is everywhere. Secondly, the empowerment of all these shops covering the pavement. All have been talking about the safety around schools, the illegal driveways, unless the council are saying yes to driveways where the cars are actually parked across the pavement. When I call, because there's a few on my road and you can't actually cross, and there's kids from children's schools walking in the middle of the road and this old lady's almost getting run off. And the council telling me that apparently it's not their problem because there's no double yellow lines. So it's getting increasingly terrible around here. The fact that there's rubbish everywhere, cars double parked, which have been reported, Ludlow Road, Parkfield Road. You can't get fire service across or ambulances across because of double parking. And again, apparently this is not this problem.
Well, most of the comments that you've made, I think I was right to say everyone in this room will agree with all of those, ourselves included. I think that the issue here is obviously we've got an agenda item that's specifically in relation to the ETNF. Yeah, so we'll once we get to that point of the meeting, then we can have a conversation around that. But in terms of this item, nothing specific that you've raised was probably direct for Carl to address around the engineering. So, okay. Well, okay, if people think that we shouldn't have any trees on the side of the corner of the road, we won't do that. So there are, but the point is that we've got a consultation around this. This was just a suggestion, again, coming in from feedback from other residents who have either written in or engaged with the local engineers or ourselves So this wasn't, this definitely wasn't just an idea that Councillor Idris and I had ourselves, because there will be residents in this room that can say, we have been asking for some elements of this. It's just a shame that nobody who wants the trees is sat here to vouch for me at the moment.
No, I
but,
don't mind the trees. What I'm saying is,
I hear what you're saying. No, but I hear what you're saying. If I can just take to the back, there was the man first. I'm just doing the
We welcome any and all initiatives that we're going to introduce. I'm sure they're going to be good for the community overall. My question is, initiatives that we've introduced in the past, we've not followed up on them. To give a couple of examples, we've got double yellow lines all over Alum Road, and you don't see any traffic warnings going past Highfield Road, going down to Alum Roundabout, etc. Alum Roundabout junction with Welch's Lane, we've got a red route there, marked red route. I can't recall seeing a vehicle being picked up since before the lockdown. There's no patrolling there at all. So my question to you is, it's brilliant you're coming out with these new initiatives. I'm sure they've come from the community. How are you going to make sure that they work for the community in the longer term? We can spend the money, and then it seems like you forget all about it afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so thanks for that. You're right, and often my role is to put measures in. My role is to put yellow lines in at locations. My role isn't to enforce them. That's, we have a whole department called parking and parking enforcement. And it's frustrating that they often haven't got the officers or the resource. The priority is the Red Room, the city centre, the Jewellery Quarter, 500 schools in Birmingham, a few hospitals, and priority routes, principal hierarchy roads. And Alum Rock Road's one of those, Solo Road, Dudley Road. They are all very busy routes that need to be patrolled. And if I was to ask parking enforcement for how many tickets have they issued on Alum Rock Road, I'm sure they will tell me, and maybe it's surprising that they have issued some. If they haven't, we can ask the question, can you do some targeted enforcement? It is difficult, there's 2,500 kilometres of highway in Birmingham, there's an awful lot to get around. Some restrictions require 2 visits if it's 1 hour limited waiting. They go once, log the vehicles and go back after an hour. So it's quite a resource. But I get your points because I get the complaints that they're not enforced. What we're hoping with these measures, these particular measures, as I mentioned, if we just called it 20 mile an hour on the roads, you'd be saying to me, they're not going to just do 20. But because we're proposing to put road humps in, they won't go much faster. It won't be comfortable to go much faster than 20. On the issue of parking and blocking the footways and illegal accesses, the council are trying, but there are hundreds and hundreds of illegal accesses. The council's had hundreds of millions of pounds of cuts, including staff. My team have shrunk by 5, no choice. 600 redundancies. The staff aren't there. There's a couple in enforcement. There's a couple here, a couple there. It's tough times, and there are hundreds and hundreds of illegal crossings. They are getting round them, but it's a slow process when you involve legal services and the courts. It's not going to be quick. The police are right, the council's right, so that if someone's parked on the footway and there are no lines on the road, it's a police matter. The council only have powers if there are lines on the road, and those lines on the road extend virtually to the back of footway. So for example, if there's lines on the road and someone parks on the footway, they're classed as being on the lines, and yes, the council can issue tickets. And can the police, if they have the resources and priority and not called to something else. If they are parked on the footway and there are no lines on the road, the council just does not have the power. They can't take action without a power. So if somebody is blocking the footway, if there's lines, contact the council. If there's no lines, it's the police.
Hopefully that will answer that. The couple of people have mentioned waste generally on the roads, etc. We don't see any initiative at all towards that. We see, you know, the weekly, currently the weekly thing people come around on the next day, you might get the lorry to sweep the road. But my question is, why aren't we taking action, i.e. putting some cameras up? The stretch I'm going to talk specifically about is from the Belchers Lane roundabout Alum Road Junction up to the mosque. Every shop there has been licensed for food now. And if you come there on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, you'll see cars parked in it just, you can't describe it. If you're talking about a disabled person or a person with a wheelchair, a lady with a buggy trying to walk on that footpath, it's impossible. It's impossible. So the question again is, we can target this new money towards new initiatives. Is there no way of targeting this money to the initiatives that we have introduced previously and focus on those, improve those? That would make life a lot better for the residents, I believe.
Through Chair, yeah, the answer to that is yes, we can. If these issues are logged with the councillors, then you know we sit down on a regular basis, we look at the issues and we see what we can do. Obviously, you mentioned the waste and the rubbish. That's with another department, waste management. Obviously, I'm a highway engineer, but waste management, they could be invited to another meeting. There are a lot of meetings I am at as well. So hopefully, if your councillors can invite them to a future meeting, you can ask waste about litter, road cleansing, bin emptying, etc. They're all questions for waste management and enforcement.
Okay. I'm really conscious about the time that we've got and the other items.
Can I just take 2 minutes? I've got to open meeting. I'm leaving now. Just a few points.
Is it in relation to the local engineer?
A few points for you guys, and then I'm going to shoot off. If you do the engineer, you can discuss it with everybody here. I've got to get to another meeting. So it's very few important points, and I'm off. One is that we've got 7 days parking restriction on our road. I don't see that in a lot of areas. We've got £500,000 coming in. I don't see where that money goes. And going on Uber and Deliveroo, we've got these cyclists and motorcyclists on the pavements. We've been in and out of cars. Nothing's been done about that. That's something which is a significant issue down the road. Really being used by commercial premises, left on the road so you can't park. There's a couple of points. I've got to get to a meeting, so then I'm going to leave with you guys.
No, that's fine. Thank you. As I was just saying that I'm mindful that we've got other items of people who are waiting to present. So I'm just going to give you your one last say on this item.
While you're on the subject of traffic, crossing the list and suggesting I consider the traffic parking, double parking on the roads like Dublin Road, parking on junctions, whether you can't turn right or left on those roads, and also the people who sell cars in there, the cars are parked in the streets, and those who don't tax the parking in the streets, we allowed to do nothing, so the government does nothing, and I'm ready to go. What can we park?
On that point, around the traders who are operating, sort of out of their houses and buying and selling cars from the roads, taking up parking spaces that residents should be using. Obviously, we're well aware, and we've been doing what we can to start getting the regulation and enforcement within Birmingham City Council to start taking the issue seriously. Just last week, we brought this up with a meeting with our MP as well about what we can collectively do to identify that. I know that the police obviously aren't in attendance here today, but they've also been doing some enforcement around untaxed vehicles. And if you follow their sort of online social media pages, you'll see where they've actually removed vehicles. And that, no, I know. And just to say that there is information that they're telling people as well. But the sites that you've made reference of, and based on the information that Carl has explained about sort of where there's lines, who has a jurisdiction to do that, where there aren't, who has the... Oh, okay. Yeah, so these are... Yeah, what you're referring to to, that then falls into the police sort of remit. But this isn't me. No. But this isn't sort of saying that not my problem. This is to say I know that the police have got an operation, especially sort of focusing on Alum Rock, dealing with this at the moment. But where there's like specific, regular parking that happens, and it's on these roads, then we can then feed that back. And if they've got reasons to be removed, police are enforcing that at the moment. We can all just keep trying to do better by ensuring that the enforcement is taken. But my point to you is that it's not being ignored. There is action that's being taken around these issues. But I'm not saying that you're wrong in anything that you're saying. That actually it's happening and it's being fixed. The problem is so far and wide across the board that there will be inconveniences caused to residents on some roads where obviously certain focus is happening at that time, at that space, with police efforts on a different particular road. But the point is, yes, we're aware of that, and we're engaging in conversation with police, with also again with DVLA, and seeing where council enforcement officers have got the responsibility that they need to pick up those cases and deal with them and work in partnership with the police on that. So I made a note of this, of your last point about the sort of particular roads that you mentioned, Ludlow and others around sort of the junctions that we're parking on. I'm just going to pause just to make sure that there aren't any other questions or comments, in particularly around this ETNF fund, because once we move, just to whatever's relevant to.
The worst road in the country, if not in Europe. Alum Rock Road.
Yeah.
Alum Rock Road is the dirtiest road in Birmingham City and across the country. We need to go from this clearancy on a regular basis. I'm sure people sitting here, when they walk down the street, they think that they're going to walk that really on the street. It's coming down to us, Asian people living in that area, and look at how they're treated.
Yeah. Okay. Just because Carl's going to obviously leave at the end of this item, and we have got the next item waiting, did you want to come in and ask a question around this?
What your priority is for the transport of the neighbourhood. Like the residents, myself, I suffer from fibromyalgia. Every night I drive around Maitland Road, Anthony Road, Ludlow Road, Parkfield Road, Alderson Road, Underhill Road, Alexander Way. I even go to further where the NHS clinics are. I drive around 3 hours every night after finishing a night shift. I don't feel safe as a woman to walk home 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time my shift finishes, to walk home. I suffer with a disability. So in the end, what do? I park outside the school. Why do I park outside the school? Because that's the only place that there is for me. I get a ticket every morning. I've got a ticket. I can't wake up in the morning after finishing my night shift. On top of that, I suffer with fibromyalgia. It's not easy for me to get up. I have to pay, most of my wage goes to paying my tickets. Why should I, as a resident, keep paying tickets? What have you, as councillors, seen on the roads? There are people that are parking on the junctions like the man said in the back. People like them don't get ticketed in the morning. Why am I always targeted? Yes, I'm parked outside the school. I'm not blocking no gateways. I'm not moving my car. My car has been parked there since the night. It's not moving. But it's always me that gets the ticket. I've never seen people that have double parked on the street or parked on the pathway in certain ways ever get ticketed. But it's like, we, as your residents, you're not taking priority as a transport. I have people on my street that trade from home. They have 5-6 cars that have been parked there for nearly 8 weeks untaxed. I've contacted the councillors, I've contacted Birmingham City Council, I've contacted DVLA. Who do I go to? Who is going to listen to me? If you guys don't think this is an urgent matter, rather than putting trees up, maybe you should listen to your residents, go around the whole of Alum Rock and listen to individually each person what they have to say, because my wage, half my wage is going on paying tickets. When I have to go back and actually dispute my ticket, do you know what? I'm sorry, here's a discount, you got paid £35. That's not a discount for me. I'm working for the NHS. I work privately, but as well as work for the NHS. So where is this fair that my £1,500 of my monthly wage will go towards the tickets? How is that fair? Like, you're listening, saying, yeah, okay, yeah, this is fine, you know, our residents, this isn't an issue, but the majority of people here are complaining about the same thing. It's the same thing, this man, that man, you know, you guys are nice, you're snuggled in bed at 8 o'clock in the morning, we have to get up, we have to find parking. No, we have to find parking in the morning. I'm sorry, as a councillor, you shouldn't be making faces, but as a councillor, you should know better that your community here is suffering. We need something done, but no, you want to worry about putting your funding into trees. It's not something.
Clean the streets first, then put your plans.
Exactly. Thank you.
The best is
You know, I understand, but you've not come out in the mornings when you've seen that the traffic is ridiculous around Alum Road, Anthony Road, Maitland Road, Jackson Road. You're a woman, right? Would you feel safe parking your car at the bottom of Alum Road and walking up to the Shaw Hill School? Would you feel? This is a question to you. Would you feel safe in the middle of the night? Parking your car, bottom of Alum Road and walking to Shaw Hill Road or Shaw Hill School? Would you feel safe as a woman at night?
Okay.
No, okay. Would you feel safe? That's my question to you.
Okay. So obviously you have raised a number of concerns, and again it goes back to parking. It's not the first time in this meeting that parking has been raised. You know, a number of residents here have spoken about parking being the biggest problem in their area, and actually it goes back down to the number of not just any other. There's no solution being found, but it goes down to the number of cars per household. In previous years, we've dealt with proposals of schemes to see if residents would like to have the introduction of car park permits per road.
Yeah.
And actually, well, you asked that question earlier. So, you know, we've had those conversations in years previously, asking whether residents would be opposed to having a scheme like this. And actually, most of the time that we've gone around to bring this conversation back up, there has been a strong objection, because most people have got more than one car per household. So the question will go down to, you know, you're going to say you.
No, and I tell you what this lady just says, there's about 4 or 5 houses on my street that trade cars, buy and sell cars from home. They've got about 6, 7 cars along the street. And in 4 or 5 houses, they've got 4 or 5 cars parked on the street. You got no chance of it?
Yeah. Going back to the point about, obviously, where there's traders doing that, that's a separate enforcement.
But is that legal? Can they do that?
So they shouldn't be operating businesses outside of their properties.
Yeah.
So why should the council not do anything when you write them letters, when you write them emails, they're doing nothing?
So back to the parking permit suggestions, because obviously apart from all forum meetings being where you're able to tell us your concerns, we present you with potential schemes sort of to you know, where we've got investment, and listening to your concerns. Equally, we want to hear from you whether you think that introducing parking permits, where you get, you know, where every single resident has got a parking permit, where they're able to ensure that at the end of the night, where you're feeling unsafe and you're unable to walk, you know, a big distance, where it's dark, it's unsafe, you know, you're on your own, you finished a shift. If you know that you've got a parking permit, and you're able to, you know, have that for your household, your space is then going to be secure on that road. The only thing we need to hear from residents is actually, would that suit the majority of the people who are currently suffering from that? Because previous years we've had backlash, because at the moment, you know, the way the lifestyle of parking and things like that and driving in this area goes.
I tell you what, there's a lot of people that come out of town, they'll park on the streets, our streets, and they'll go out shopping all day, every day, and then the cars just park there for about 5, 6, 7 hours.
No, so what I'm hearing from, obviously from you, from others, that actually maybe we could revisit that idea of having parking permits.
Definitely. I know what you just said, and exactly, I've always said that. Every house should have 2 car permits. And enforcing is the council's job to enforce it. You know, why do you need to have, I mean, at the end of the day, Carl's sitting here, and one of the residents already said that, Carl, that we are willing to pay the £2,800 for a drop curb, but you refuse because we're what, half a foot short on the actual from the house to the actual drop curb. Right? But what do we do then? And not the people out of what we say out of no choice are having to do things which are illegal.
How about, as a solution, we give those households who want a permit, but
Yeah, a resident parking scheme is not an easy thing, trust me. When you actually look at the detail, I've heard a lot tonight about double parking, parking on junctions. If there was a resident parking scheme, the roads are marked out, so you wouldn't be able to park on junctions. So every car parked on the junctions wouldn't be able to park there. So that may be 20, 40, 60 cars not on the junctions. If every house, as I've heard, has a couple of cars and some have more, there's only so much road space. The legal road space to park a vehicle is a full height curb, avoiding the junctions 32 feet or 10 metres, avoiding existing yellow lines and avoiding accesses. We've done this many times. We did it in Irvington a few years ago, where for a huge area of Irvington, we was proposing 1,000 vehicle spaces and 700 business spaces, because there's a lot of shops in Irvington. And overwhelmingly, everybody objected because it was nowhere near enough. If there was a resident parking scheme in Alum, there would not be enough road space for one car for every resident. There wouldn't be on the road. So now, while you're all fighting for space and a lot of people are parking, we say legally, if there was a legal parking permit system in place where everybody had to pay for a permit, nobody would get more than one permit, and anybody with 2, 3, 4 cars, they'd say to me, well, what am I supposed to do with those?
That's their problem.
But can you see why it would be overwhelmingly objected to?
No, boy, like the man just said there, you should enforce it. No, enforce it.
You can't force everybody.
That's forcing hundreds of people to sell the cars. It wouldn't be supported.
One of our house, then you should be able to take a park.
Can I just say, as I said it earlier as well, we've got a lot of initiatives that I've introduced in the past, and the example I gave you, double yellow lines. Where's the enforcement of those? That's the main issue to start with before creating new solutions. We need to enforce what's already there, and that's not happening.
It sounds like there's some yellow line enforcement needed, but there's a lot of police enforcement for blocking footways and junctions.
But these don't come out when you fall down.
Between all the different authorities, and we need it to be consistent. We need it to be, not just once in a blue moon. We need it on a daily basis, and then we will see a change, I believe.
The two work together. I was walking Irvington High Street last week with an inspector and the police and the big manager and others. It was Operation Fearless, and the police and the City Council's enforcement are working together, walking together, and ticketing the different offences that each are responsible for. So it can happen.
Yes, we need it here.
Yeah, okay.
It's not happening for a reason in Edinburgh.
Yeah. No, thank you for everyone's comments around this agenda item. I am going to have to say that we're going to have to bring this one to an end, because I'm sure that everyone would have noticed that we're almost at the at the end of the scheduled meeting, but because we did start slightly later, I'm proposing that, because we've got a really important second agenda item, which is around the youth service redesign, including the future of the Naseby Centre. We've had lots of questions and comments coming from residents about this. So if you want to hear about, what the proposals might be, how the council has worked on bringing this new youth service redesign up, then I'd like to start off the next agenda item. But I'm happy to extend the meeting until around 7:15 if people do want to stay on till the end, just because of the time that we did have in a delay in starting. So I'd just like to say thank you to Carl for attending and answering and addressing the questions. And as a reminder, the consultation period for the ETNF is until the 28th of February. So if you have received any of the notification for that, please do fill that in. Equally, if you haven't received that because you don't live on those roads, but now that you know about the scheme, then you can just write into us and we can feed that as part of the formal consultation. So thank you once again, Carl. And then I'd like to introduce the next item, which is around the youth service redesign. Before I bring in Councillor Brown and Sula to present this item, I just want to highlight the incredible amount of work that our current youth centre manager, Danish, has been doing to serve our local area and community in delivering the outstanding youth work in our ward. And many of us have got connections to this building and the services that have been offered from it over the few years. I myself worked here over 13 years ago and was involved in the council's youth services as a young person prior to that. The importance of youth workers in helping shape young people, their futures and aspirations is obviously unmatched, and this is why, given the current challenges that are faced by the city, the council have looked at redesigning the entire youth service and the provision across the city. And I will hand over to Councillor Brown and Sula, the head of the youth service, who can talk through what this new style of service will look like and what it means for the Naseby Centre. We'll take questions at the end of this item, and can I just ask sort of everyone to keep noise to a minimum as people are leaving, just so that we can hear about the youth service redesign. Councillor Brown, did you want to come and talk us through? I'll just also, you were here before if you were here before, we can shuffle over. Okay. Yeah, hold on. You can shuffle over. We'll shuffle over, yeah. If you were here at the start of the meeting, you would have seen that they did try and sort out the tech, but unfortunately, despite sort of testing it earlier today, for some reason it failed on us, so we don't have the presentation, so you don't have the visuals with that. But either way, I'm sure they're going to be able to do just fine without having to have the visual aid. So I'll hand over to Councillor Brown, as a cabinet member responsible for this area, and he can talk us through. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that introduction, Councillor Clark. I appreciate that. My name is Nick Brown, Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Families, and this is Sue, who's the head of youth services. As Councillor Clark said, there was a presentation, or there is a presentation, which we're trying to display on the screen. We weren't able to do that for some unknown technical reason. So what we're going to do is what we would have done anyway. Myself and Sue will talk to the sheets, and what we'll do, we'll stop probably more frequently than we would have done ordinarily, so people can actually ask questions. Okay? Right, so we're starting off by youth service redesign. Why did we need to do it? In September 24, we presented a business case proposing a new staffing structure for youth services. The model was designed based on them having to save needs targeted across the directorate and significant reductions in the general fund budget. What's key to remember here is that BCC remains committed to retaining the youth service as part of the youth offer across the city, and that includes youth centres. The key aim for myself, and it's been one of the first items in my inbox when I got into this role in August of last year, was to introduce a youth work model which is going to be sustainable and leading to growth, and enable youth workers such as Darnesh over there, who's done a great job here, to actually grow the service to meet the needs of young people in that particular area, which obviously for yourselves is Naseby. The staff submitted a number of alternative models which were reviewed by the directors and have informed the proposed final structure. The feedback we got during the consultation period, and the consultation period was extended by probably just over a further month, was we got a huge amount of feedback from staff members and young people. In fact, we had almost 1,500 young people across the city made a contribution in terms of what they wanted youth services to actually be. The recommendation from the staff, trade union colleagues were that we should reinstate the head of service post, the senior youth work manager and youth support worker roles were to be pulled back into the structure. And what really I think is really important is to look at actually making sure that we've actually got specialist provision for children and young people who've got special educational needs and disabilities, which we've not had before. So we've now got a SEND expertise in the form of a youth worker and youth workers apprenticeships. We've actually got a role for an alternative provision, which we built in with a senior youth worker role, which we've never had before. A virtual schools team formed as part of the service, initially for a 2-year period, all within the context of creating a central team and 4 area teams to deliver the service across the city. So what I'm going to do now is, as soon as now going to go over the actual next year, the targeted new service provision, and then people want, we'll stop at that point with the questions.
I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't, just put your hand up and I'll shout a bit more or stand, alright? So it's important to say that the business case set out a staff and budget that was able to secure the youth services future. The past 12 months we've had a really difficult time. But it was really good that we were able to create a budget through the general fund and grant funding that committed to maintain a level of provision within the city. The grant funding has allowed the ability for our service to grow, and as Councillor Brown said, we're able to specialise in working with young people, working with alternative provision and supporting young people there. We're also going to do a lot of work around health and inequalities, and that's for all young people, and also targeting young people in care around the youth force. In addition to those specialities, the model will be that we will have 4 district teams working across the city, and that's what we will deliver that kind of open access youth service that people are familiar with, as well as working with the central teams that's focusing on the send young people, on the youth voice, and the health and inequalities. This new model, and it is a new model, it's different to what we've been delivering. There's some similarities, but it is different. It will enable us to increase our focus on voice and influence, and it's really important at the heart of youth work that we give young people the skills to be able to say what they want, how we can react, what they want for their futures, and also to tell adults how they can listen to those young people as well. We're also going to make sure that we can secure the future of young people in the city. Youth work is really important to us. Services to young people is really important to us, and no one wants to see us reduced.
Thank you for that, Sue. I think the key point I want to pick up on what Sue has said is all the posts we're looking to input in will be permanent posts. And we're actually in a position where we can actually maintain a level of budgetary support. And as Stu has said, we'll have 4 districts. It could be 4 district areas. There'll be the central area, which will be able to provide them with specialist input support. So if there's some topic that they want to discuss, Darnish here at Naseby will be able to contact the central team and say, I need support for this particular item. Yeah? And those central teams may have things that they want to spread out across the entire youth service going forward. Okay, so if we stop at this point, so
is Naseby Youth Centre still going to be under asset transfer?
at this stage, yeah.
It is?
Yeah, but we're still,
Okay.
what I'm saying, what we are saying is that until that actually happens, we will be providing a service from this building.
Okay. It's very nice that you're acknowledging the amazing work that Darnish is doing. It's a real shame as a cabinet member for you to say that this is the first time you've come here. You haven't physically seen what's happening in the centre, how close this centre is to not only the children but the parents as well. My child also comes here. We've actually got a meeting coming up, so there's not much I'm going to delve into. But it is really, really disappointing that you guys are so you're so away from this community. You're a cabinet member. This is your role. This is what you're supposed to specialise in. Yeah, but this is the first time you walk in here. Do you not think there should have been a consultation with the parents? Yes or no?
We've obviously taken on board a variety of views. I've been round and interviewed a lot of the young people at the centre, at the college centres that we linked. We actually met them in with. We've actually gone through some of the information that they've actually fed through to us in terms of the support services that they actually say they actually want.
So how many students or how many service users from this centre did you speak to?
We spoke to over 1,500 in total.
No, from this centre.
I can't confirm that at the moment.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. However,
Okay.
what I do know is that at the beginning, we've had 2 parts of the process.
Sorry, I'm a bit hard of you.
Okay, so I'll shout a bit louder.
Thank you.
We've had 2 parts of the process, and the first part, which was about understanding youth work, which was an independent consultancy coming to do,
there was opportunities for them to come to every youth centre and speak with young people, speak with youth workers and get their views. Now, I don't know if they came to Naseby. I'm not sure if they did come to Naseby.
Is that new to you?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
They did come to Naseby. So they came down here, saw what was going on, spoke with Darnish, spoke with the young people, and so therefore the young people's views were heard. I'm not sure if they spoke with parents. Is there parents here?
No.
No. So they did speak with parents. So there has been an opportunity for young people.
But it was really important to us so that we actually got an understanding of what young people wanted. And I was aware that, from my understanding, was that you have been around to most of the youth centres, down to all of them. And it's that information that we built this around. Plus, when I went to colleges, to do the 5 sessions there, listening and talking to the young people that went there to say these are the issues that actually concern us.
You know, it's quite.
I'm just conscious that I know we've opened up for questions, but we haven't checked to see if there's any questions from other people. But it's not just a sort of a back and forth dialogue, but I've got others who have raised
Well, if you have more
hands
board
as well.
meetings, you would be having to back and forth.
Fine. I'll bring you next.
Okay, my question is, have you ever thought of sharing resources with the schools? There are 4 secondary schools in this area. Why can't we use their resources? I mean, after 3 or 4 o'clock, the schools are closed. So the youth service, I think they should attach youth workers within each school. The service we're providing from here should be provided in each and every school. Why can't we look at that?
I think we've received 132 expressions of interest from Birmingham-based organisations.
Sorry, I can't.
So we've received over 130 expressions of interest from Birmingham-based organisations that want to get involved in the
I'm
partnership.
sorry, not organizations. I'm talking about the school under NEA. The Nancy school here, there's Saltley, there's the Washwood Heath, there's Academy there now. Why can't we actually use their resources which are available in the evening? They are from the same community. They are based in the community. They should be utilized.
What we're trying to do with the asset transfer, the partnership, is actually keep Naseby open. So we don't want to close Naseby. But what we want to do is say to another organisation, can you keep this building open? Can you make sure that there are services to young people being delivered from here? We as a youth service will support you to deliver those services to young people. We as a youth service will support you to kind of quality assure and deliver a service. So by doing it that way, we want to keep this centre open for young people and make sure that the young people in the area have some kind of resource and a space they can call their own. We've done that elsewhere where we've gone out to community asset transfer and we've made arrangements with the organisation where we continue to deliver as a youth service some resources. So we are hoping that whoever takes over Naseby, as part of that information, we as a youth service will continue to deliver some sessions in, particularly in the evening. So we're hoping that you don't lose your resource.
No, with due respect, I'm not proposing to close Naseby.
Yeah,
Naseby is attached with the school. So why can't they actually work together and provide more resources, more space? I remember in the 90s, there were halls available, there were 5-a-side pitches available for the youth to use. I don't think it is available now.
No. I think that on the sort of issues that you're raising, the question you're asking about where we've got schools, sort of local schools, it's the same young people that are going to these schools, it's the same young people who then probably walk through the doors at Naseby. You know, why can't we see if the schools can either open up their doors and offer the facilities that they have got outside of school hours to sort of engage in having some sort of youth provision and not just maybe sort of based through Naseby, depending on, you know, current circumstances or the future of Naseby. I think what Councillor Brown was sort of referring to about the expressions of interest, I don't know the full sort of list overall out of the 130 organisations that have applied. That doesn't necessarily mean it is either just a community-based organisation or whether it's sort of a youth organisation. It can potentially be, if there are, schools, for example, if they were interested in any of the potential community asset transfer buildings, could also put in their expression of interest to see if they could take on the management of such a site, or whether they could sort of adopt the site as part of the extension or expansion of their own sort of services that they provide through the school. But then that question then does boil down to, as a local authority, we wouldn't have any sort of power to be able to get the schools, especially if they're academies, to then take on the cost of doing so by getting them to run certain aspects of like the youth service. But I know that there are some things, for example, that take place at Rockwood that is considered as some sort of a youth provision when it comes to, for example, like the Alum Football Academy, and other organisations have previously been able to have access to it. It's definitely not nowhere near as it would have been in previous years that you're talking about, where the doors would have been open and a lot more community engagement could have taken place or had taken place at some of these schools. But I think that as part of this youth service redesign, it's more focused towards making sure that the right decisions are made so that the future of any of the sites, Naseby included, is the best possible option for local people. It includes, maximising the potential for youth service provision and making sure that basically the doors of this place do not close. All that changes is that the people who are opening the doors and closing the doors at the end of the day are different people, not council employees. But it doesn't also mean that council employees won't be based or won't be working from the centre. It will still mean, as part of the overall redesign, that area-based council youth officers can also, and most likely will also, be deployed at some of these sites that have the keys have just been handed over to, so that it won't just be a case of an external organisation that will be running it based on the times that they want to do it, based on the services that they want to offer. They will still be linking in with the Birmingham City Council Youth Service, because we will still have some sort of relationships based where Birmingham Council youth workers will still be able to deliver some services. It just means that the management cost and the management of the entire building will just be handed to the right organisation, whoever that is. We've already got a number of expressions of interest for Naseby Centre, and I think that part of the next stages of this is that the decision around the community asset transfers will be made, and then in the next sort of coming months, the list of people who have expressed interest will be looked at. There's going to be a lot of extensive work being done to see who's the most viable option, because what we don't want is for it to be handed over to somebody and then it's okay for a little while and then they're unable to afford it, and actually we did do due diligence and then we're back to square one where there's problems in running the building.
Absolutely, you have spoken eloquently and at length. You're still not answering the question. Have the youth service and the education department actually met and talked about the services there or not?
I'll pick that up in this statement that there have been conversations. Now, what I haven't got to hand is the details of those conversations. However, what I will promise you that I will do is forward them on to Councillor Khan, what I can find out, and then she can forward them on to yourself.
It's just my personal view that there is a facilities available which can be utilized for the community. Youth work, youth centers does not have to be closed. I mean, they can actually work together.
We're not
and
opposing
provide
them.
As soon as we're not actually going to close this centre.
No, I'm not talking this now. I'm talking centers throughout the city.
And we are working with schools in different areas.
Sweetheart, can I just answer something? So, in order to hire the football session, the football pitch is about £75 an hour. We as a service, with the cutbacks, we ain't got £75 an hour. So what's happening, most of the schools are turning into academies. After 4 o'clock, it becomes business. So before, as Councillor Khan said, the options are open. Now it's very closed. Yes, we are having the conversations, but after 4 o'clock, the schools, it's not just with Rockwood Academy, it's also with Eden Boys Academy. After 4 o'clock, it becomes business.
Why is that? Sorry, are they local authority?
No.
So the schools become, so 9 to 5, what are they between that time then?
It's an academy, so they're not under local authority.
Okay, so who's funding them? I mean, it's taxpayer money going to grants, loans, etc.
All the government. Who's funding the schools, the academies?
Central government. It will come from central government because those academies are part of an academy trust. So there'll be possibly 5 or 6 of them in one particular area. If they're no longer maintained school, they're no longer in the city council. The city council's ability to work at them is significantly reduced.
We work, it's maybe important to say that we work, and I know Darnish works with Rockwood. He will go into Rockwood, the youth workers here will go into Rockwood and do some joint work. And we will go into schools and we will deliver sessions to the young people. And we do that during that school time. I think Darnish is trying to say outside of that school time to access school provision can be costly to us. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do with that one. But we do work with some schools. There's some job working here with Rockwood, and I know you've
We've got Rockwood, we're working with Eden Boys School.
Yeah, and Eden Boys School.
Lansing School, Crosswalk
Yeah.
as well.
In terms of your direct question about any conversation or engagement in relation to the youth service redesign and the CAPS, if Sula's, if there's anything relevant to Naseby, Sula can just have a look to see if there's anything.
Yeah.
And anything that I can share, I can take it with the PwC and forward on to you. I'm going to take the orders of the representatives.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what kind of impact all these changes will have on the young people, and how those changes are going to be marshaled or monitored. They're big changes.
I think what we're looking to do is when these additional posts have all been filled, we're looking for individual centres such as Naseby that have much more control in terms of the way they actually operate. So if there's a particular issue that's affecting the young people in this area, they can either get somebody from the central team to come down, or if there's an issue in terms of the number of people here who've come from a care experience background and they've got particular problems, we can get lots of care experience working from them. So it's a question, I think, of working with people having the capacity to say what the issues are in our particular area geographically, and what support we can get from the central teams and from the specialist teams. So it's about working more collectively and collegially and making their decisions themselves rather than decisions being sort of fed down from the top in terms of this is how we want you to work. It's actually empowering the people to work in a way that works for their particular community.
Well, unfortunately, it feels like we have a deja vu moment where you're saying all these good things are happening exactly the same way the Labour council at that time said about the base. And still, 15 years on, you're still saying we're working with organisations to take over. That's never going to happen, obviously, because we haven't had all that time. What I want to know is, on what merit are other centres being left open, and this is going to get an asset transfer? Because we tick all the boxes: unemployability, knife crime, poverty. We tick all the boxes. And also, second part of the question, I hope you don't mind, is going back a few years, the legacy fund, which was a huge underspend. I believe you were the J at that time. There was a lot of money available from there. Fellow colleagues, councillors, they're using that part of funding. Are we not able to go into that part and save the Naseby Youth Centre? If so, how much is left, if you know?
I don't know anything about the legacy fund.
Okay.
So I can't talk on that.
It's not something I'm aware of either, but we could find out for you in terms of what happened over that.
Yeah, but I think we have to be absolutely clear that we're not going to, as a decision has been made on all of the youth centres, I think Sula can confirm and Councillor Brown can confirm that we are not in a position to overturn the decision that has been made around not just Naseby, around all of the other youth centres, whether or not there is any pots of funding that you're referring to that might be around the overall sort of process that's led us to this position. Because what I don't want is people to walk out of this building and have a false view that actually there is a chance that Birmingham City Council will continue to retain provision by having the management of Naseby Youth Centre under their control? Because, and you can confirm that, please.
At this stage, I think it's really important to say we've been through, the youth service has been through a journey and a really difficult journey. The past 12 months have been horrendous. We thought we were going to lose our service. We thought we were going to walk away with hardly anything. To be in a position now, and all the youth workers, I would say, are passionate about what they do, have a genuine belief about making sure that we provide the best services. That goes without saying. And Darnish and AG are examples of that.
Yeah.
We're in a position, we found ourselves in a position where we actually thought we were going to have no youth centres, nothing, and very few youth workers. We're in a position now that we never thought we would be. We are able to keep 4 youth centres, but not just 4 youth centres under City Council control. The rest of the centres will still stay open, and they will be owned by other organisations. We would have a responsibility to the young people in the area to make sure that the provision is there for them. So in reality, the way it should look for a young person that walks through that door is that they should see no difference, whether it's owned by us, whether it's a third sector organisation. We will continue to make sure that that third sector organisation is supported to deliver youth work, and also that they deliver what they say they're going to deliver on paper. As soon as they stop delivering, that'll be another issue. That'll be around governance and making sure that they do. So there's a genuine belief to make sure that we can keep as many centres open to young people.
But going back to my first part of the question, on what merit were the others left open because we tick all the boxes?
So do the others tick the boxes. And what I don't want to do is say that centre has more deprivation than this centre. There was a robust process that's gone through that was looked at deprivation, looked at lots of factors, and also we're trying to get a spread across the city. So we've tried to have one in the east, which is over at Chardin. We've had one centrally, which is the Lighthouse. We've got one in Sparkbrook, and then one over at the factory at Longbridge. So it's about trying to get the geographical area.
I know obviously we're pressing for time, but when we have our meeting, could we have that?
I will have a look at that. Yeah, okay.
So I want to see on what merit is everybody
no
else okay, and Alum again. Historically and now again we're getting another asset transferred over without any form of sustainability.
There will be sustainability.
Well, yeah.
I think the way we've actually set this up is we are sure that this budget we've actually contributed to the staffing group here is going to be sufficient to enable this service to both maintain at the level we've got it at and potentially to grow. What we don't want to happen is to set something up which is going to fail.
No charity organisation can guarantee you over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Let me finish, then you can say that. That they'll be sustainable. Currently, the youth service has a person and a team that's working here that are qualified youth workers. I've worked in the charity sector, so I understand this. Okay, we can say, okay, we've got this grand plan of turning this youth centre into an absolute hub for the youth, and we're going to have X amount of money. But going down the line, the way the economy is anyway, the funding pots are all reducing as well. So there's no way any organisation can guarantee that for 15 years we're going to have this open.
Yeah, but equally, the council can't guarantee that they're going to be able to continue to run the services.
So that's why, as a representative, it's your job to find alternative funding pots and alternative ways.
You just answered the question by saying that everything is unfortunately diminishing.
Yeah, but as I said, the legacy fund, which you quickly...
I haven't actually, I can pick that back up because that is a West Midlands Combined Authority funding that isn't run by Birmingham City Council. So
the legacy fund, wasn't it the one that you were chairing?
No, I don't know.
It wasn't?
No, because I don't know what legacy fund you're referring to.
I'll be emailing you with that, yes? I'll be emailing
you. Can you tell me
one.
which fund you're referring to?
The legacy fund in the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, that's a West Midlands Combined Authority fund.
Okay, so you are chairing the legacy fund, right?
No.
Yeah? Okay.
I will find out.
I don't think that particular funding was within this particular passage. The business case here set out a staffing budget which has been secured for the youth service, and the grant funding is enabled us to allow the ability to grow the service and offer to the young people of the city a SEND service, an alternative provision service, a health and equality service, as well as a care experience service, in addition to the support that they're currently getting. Because as Sue was saying a few minutes ago, a number of local authorities have significantly reduced their youth service provision. What we want to provide for the people and young children of Birmingham is a youth service that's going to be sustainable over as long a period of time. And the new model is going to enable the council to increase its focus on the voice and influence of the young people to secure their future with the policy in terms of youth service provision.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Thank you, Sue.
So it's good to know Naseby's going to stay. So it's going to be here. It's not going to go. No problem to the youth. So it's going to be here for the years. It'll be up and running. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
So we all have a responsibility. Just like the rubbish as well as a community. Everybody's got to step up a little bit. Not put fingers all the time. We all have a responsibility for those in the community to arrange for subjects.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, and I'd just like to say thank you to Councillor Brown and Sue for taking your time out and sort of bringing the youth service redesign here and just reassuring members of the community about the future of Naseby. As was mentioned in the presentation, they're currently under the process of seeing who the potential people who have put in expressions of interest, whether they're viable options, and then there'll be like a shortlisting stage, and then they're going to sort of look at sort of the key reasons, how we're going to pick whichever organisation is going to continue to run the service. But it's just important to note that youth service and work around young people will continue to be delivered from the centre, as I said, albeit just different people running the centre, and actually we'll make sure that youth workers of the council will still also be engaging with young people who are local Alum residents. If obviously people are still interested or have got questions beyond that, just to find out more about what's undergoing the processes, then this is something that you can just write to us and we can give you the answers. As the other question that I think the gentleman has left now around schools involvement, to see how far and wide they've engaged. So again, just thank you for your time and for sort of waiting to the end of this Ward Forum meeting. Do you want to comment?
A couple of final points. First, I just want to reassure the audience that the councillors here will be involved in the actual allocation process of deciding who the actual partner is here. So you residents will actually have a voice in that matter. And also to say that myself and Sue are happy to come down to the centre again, because this process is going to take a number of months to come to fruition. So we'd be happy to come down in 2 months or so to actually say this is where we actually are now. Because a lot of the staff we're actually looking to take on are going to be new people in new particular posts. So there's a whole opportunity here for people such as Dinesh, who's done a tremendous job here, to actually develop the service in the way that they actually want it to develop.
And just to end on that note, just to reiterate if people had missed, as part of the youth service redesign, and despite the challenges that Sula mentioned in terms of at one point, we all really sort of feeling the fear that youth service is going to end up being the one that's going to get cut out of, completely cut out of the council's budget, and there were really, sort of big fears about the future of it. We're actually now in a position where there will be more youth workers employed by Birmingham City Council in full-time equivalent roles as a result of having this youth service redesign. So if you look across the city and you look at how many we had, on top of my head, was it from 31 to 4?
We've currently got 31 currently in the scope, and we're going to have the new model talks about 40.
Around 40. So there's an increase of youth workers. So there's a positive that's come out of having the youth service redesign, although it's on the back of looking at the future of how the building things are managed. But it's just to reassure that the council does recognise that youth service provision is really important, and we're glad to have been able to bring this to the Ward Forum meeting. So thank you.
You're talking about other things, and you're saying you could take in on more youth workers, right? Other things are suffering as well, then.
Yeah, it's true.
There's other job losses, so you're cutting from one place and you're putting another job in the other place.
Yeah, well,
there will be a disposition if you lot budget properly.
They would say about the jobs, it has gone up to 40, that's 40 full-time equivalents. one of the things that we got through the actual feedback from members of staff was the important contribution the part-time workers actually made to the service. So it's 40 full-time equivalents, but that could include, that figure could actually grow from 40, because if there's more, if they say 2 people want to work part-time, that's effectively an additional worker. Because one of the things I've been really impressed with by meeting youth workers is the number of people that are really passionate about this job. It's not only a job they're paid to do, it's a vocation for a lot of them.
Sorry, just to clarify, there were 31 workers, now there's 40 workers.
That's full-time equivalents.
So it's not 40 individual youth workers.
FTEs.
So how many youth workers were there are there?
Right, so currently we've got 31 FTEs.
Okay.
And the new model gives us 40 FTEs.
Full-time equivalent.
Yeah.
So how many people is that?
That isn't specified.
Just we have I can't give you that. It depends
Okay,
depends whether you talk about someone has 3 hours or 6 hours part-time job. It's difficult to say.
But the key for me is we actually retain the experience and the ability of a lot of our part-time workers who make a huge contribution.
Okay, thank you for your time. And I'm conscious, obviously, we're at 7:20, and you know, we did initially have plans of talking around the waste transformation. Unfortunately, you know, I do regret, had we had the time either way, that we didn't end up having officers present to talk about the item today. We did invite both the Cabinet Member, Council Manager Mahmood, and senior officers to present this item, but this item now will have to be deferred to the next meeting, and we'll ensure that we've got either Councillor Mahmood or the senior managers in attendance to be able to talk through the waste transformation sort of service. So, and just to be clear, obviously that will give an opportunity for people to be able to talk about the wider issues that are faced in Alum around cleanliness, street cleaning, fly tipping, mist collections, you know, sort of grotty hotspots, all of those issues that exist. But just to be absolutely clear that the waste transformation, which sort of was referred to on the agenda, is basically where the council is investing in a series of programs which will make up the waste transformation agenda over the next 18 months. So that will include things like tackling mist collections and contamination through enhanced new innovative IT and a redesign of collection models, introducing a weekly food waste collection service, moving to alternate fortnightly collections for recycling and household residual waste, and that's just as a key kind of snapshot that these things will be discussed at the next, when we have an item on our agenda at the next meeting. Obviously the current state of Alum and the streets, including inner city parts of Birmingham, are in a state, and we would agree with the frustration of the local residents that an improvement needs to be seen urgently before things do continue to get worse. You will be aware of the current industrial strikes which are affecting all of us across the city, and where I'm not equipped to obviously talk details around that, I can just ask residents to continue to inform us of where there is fly tipping hotspots and then just general issues around street cleansing. What we're being told from the waste managers is that anywhere where there are missed collections due to strike days, they are already aware of them, and because of the inundated with information around missed collections at the moment, where even if we feed that to them to say such and such road is missed or such and such road is missed, the feedback that we're getting is that they're already making they've got record of which ones are being missed and are doing their best to try and pick that up afterwards. It's obviously not the most ideal situation, but I wasn't going to sort of leave this item and not make reference to the current situation where we've got this, industrial strike. I think today and tomorrow are also sort of strike days. The dates and the information around the strikes are all on the council's website. And if you wanted any of that to be sent out, then you can, then you are able to sort of request that, and we can email that across to you. But we will make sure that we invite either both the Cabinet Member and the Senior Manager to attend the next meeting to talk about waste overall, and then also including the transformation plans that we've got sort of over the next 18 months. And it's just, I guess it leads me now to ask the question I began the meeting with around whether or not you would like the next meeting to take place, because we're planning to work with officers to try and get the next meeting next month so that we don't have big gaps and we can continue that momentum. It will be Ramadan. Would people prefer to have that as an in-person meeting or an online meeting? We're open to suggestions on that. In Ramadan, we're sort of... Yeah, yeah, so it's just based on what Councillor Lucy said. Obviously, if people would prefer to have an in-person meeting in Ramadan, we're happy to arrange that and make that happen. Working with availability of officers and just trying to make sure that we have that in person. Question is then, I guess, happy to go based on what people suggest around the timing of meetings, because this time wouldn't be appropriate for obvious reasons, and then obviously people's working patterns. If anyone wants to give me any suggestions, we can take that on board, because what I don't want is people to feel that we've made a decision and the timing hasn't suited people. So
would it be possible on the weekend, obviously?
no, we wouldn't be able to do a weekend one because
You can have your meeting, but without my support or NDSU.
But it's important to have the support so that things are noted, so we can make, and that everything that Doreen has been sort of making notes of will be formed as part of notes of this meeting, and then we'll have that published on the council's website. So unfortunately, no to the weekend. Timing wise, or any earlier than that to daytime. Some wards today, for example, the wards in Green they will for a meeting in person at 11 o'clock. It's just based on what suits people. You want us to do it in person, we will. If you want us to, we'll do it next month. It will be Ramadan. Now, please tell us what time-ish you would like it to be. And we'll obviously check back with our side, with officers, what's available and what's possible. But I want to hear from thoughts of residents. Or actually, if you don't want to talk now, if you want to think and see what your routines are like, you can email that in if you think.
I think for a start, we should just have regular meetings. Timing, we can work that after that we have the meetings.
But I just need it for next. I know, but I need it for next month's meeting. I can't talk about the timing for Ramadan after Ramadan.
And the time, if you partly job, that's really what we just want to keep it.
Yeah, we'll sort the time ourselves.
Work around that.
Okay, that's fine.
More important than the time. That's what I think.
Okay, I can pick up.
Part of the constitution is on what kind of ordinance.
Yeah.
So when we say council constitution, who's responsible? Who's going to be held responsible for not having 50 years?
Is that your only question?
No, I'm not finished.
So then tell me all of the
50 years we haven't had a ordinance. It's part of the constitution. The laws have been broken. Their own rules have been broken. And if I break the rule, I go to jail.
Okay, can you tell me the rest of your question? Because everyone here needs to be individual.
So we demand break the rule.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you ward plan one. I'm asking you again, please. I can answer it if you tell me the rest of the questions. Okay. 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 So, John, is that the last? Okay, fine. Okay, I just want to make sure I pick up all your points. So, ward plan. The last time that we had a board meeting, which will be, I accept, it was a long time ago. It was online. It wasn't in person. The ward plan and priority setting was on the agenda then. We did start the initial conversations and took on board people's comments and concerns. At that time, we started to develop with officers and working on the ward plan. Actually revisiting that now, some of those issues are exactly the same. Some of them are not actually relevant anymore because we've gone back to have a look at sort of over time what sort of issues. So for example, I'm not just making it up, I can say that at that time, the scooters, they were sort of mentioned. At that time, that was, almost every single person who was talking on that item said, ban them, ban them, ban them. We need it in our ward plan. We need it in our ward plan. So that has been resolved. That's because the contract. I'd love to take credit to say that happened because of us. That was because the contract was coming to an end at that point. But the point is that the ward plan has the consultation and the engagement from residents did happen and did start at a previous board meeting. Since then, I've met with officers to see what other forms of engagement, whether that's through advice bureaus, whether that's through interactions that we have with residents face to face, whether that's through emails that come in. Because look, most people here have been quite vocal and have been able to stand up in a public meeting and sort of tell us your thoughts. There are loads of residents out there who don't want to come and stand in a public meeting to tell us what their concerns are. So a lot of that can also and has been able to feed into building on the ward plan. I can confirm that, you know, since my return, I haven't mentioned, but obviously you guys would have been aware, I have been away for maternity leave, and since coming back, I've sort of done my best to get this meeting scheduled in, and we'll make sure that the ward plan, it's in its draft form. I mean, I know, you know, we're sort of pushed for time, but it's included the concerns and sort of priorities that have been raised previously, that have been ongoing, that have been mentioned in this meeting, but in terms of a physical document where you're able to see the published sort of plan, by the next meeting, it will be on the website, because I'm trying to find it right now. I've had the most recent draft of sort of the most up-to-date one. I've worked on it with the council officers, and it's basically more or less kind of just needs to be tweaked and just be put onto the website. But that's an ever-changing document. So you know, so if we talk about the ward plan as a general kind of item on the agenda, it's the same as having local issues on the agenda, if that makes sense. So it's the same as a lot of the engagement that we've had in this meeting. That, you know, if it's not necessarily, you know, we didn't have parking on the agenda, but we've spoken about it at length, and so that has already fed into the ward plan and will continue to feed into it. So just to, I guess, reiterate, it's not something that has completely been forgotten or left. Work has been happening behind the scenes, but I do, you know, I have to accept that it's because we haven't had this meeting in such a long time. Yeah,
it's just take too long.
Yeah, we haven't had it in a long
time. It's not acceptable for the residents.
Yeah,
it's just not acceptable for it's not. It just takes way too long. And I'm sorry, the councillors, other councillors, have to take responsibility now. They have to take responsibility.
I agree.
And I know you guys are, you've got a lot to do, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I have a lot more for you to do. I know you have, but it's not. I'm sorry, but
that's not your problem. I know.
Other community issues.
Yeah, no,
it's ridiculous. Has anything got what concern?
Yeah. But I can tell you though that
when you're honestly, it's not. Councillor, please. It's not good enough.
Can I
just want to reinforce what Councillor Carl said. A lot of issues get discussed on a regular basis anyway, and are updated meeting by meeting.
Do you have regular meetings with your residents?
Yeah, all I would say is the number
of meetings,
the number of meetings that we've been allowed to have at a time have been reduced.
Okay. I think
we're breaking too long.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to bring the meeting to a close. I've taken your point around the ward plan. I'm not making it up. It's here. It's here. It's just in a process of just us getting the final tweaks to just make sure that, you know, it kind of fits with everything. The reason why we didn't have this published already was because I wanted to make sure that what gets heard at this meeting, we also have a chance to kind of reflect on it before I say, oh, it's already done, and actually, you know, I'm just basing it on the last one. Yeah. That's fine. Hear your point. It's there. It will be on the website before the end of the meeting. Okay. Okay. Fine. Can I just take the...
Can I just ask you, there were a lot of points raised tonight, and I know earlier on we talked about rubbish on the streets, etc. I'm requesting, can you coordinate some of that stuff that you're not able to handle, other departments in the council need to look at? Will you coordinate that to those departments and give us feedback next meeting?
Yeah, so around obviously the waste and the rubbish issues, I've said that we will make sure that that is on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll make sure that those responsible to be able to answer some of those questions and concerns and listen to the problems that local residents are facing on that are here present in the room with us so that they can do.
So rather than just being present in another 4 weeks, 6 weeks time, can we do something beyond that? Right now, you've got those points from us, send them to the relevant departments, you're the professionals in the council, send them to the right departments and demand, say, you know, we want something to take back to feed to the residents in 4 to 6 weeks. Is that possible?
Around the waste.
Around the waste.
Yeah, no, I invited them as well. I did invite the police and I did invite the cabinet members and the senior officers for waste because, you know, I did invite them. feedback. So there is answer to your question. Yes, I will make sure that what sort of extensive conversation, debate, feedback that we've had from residents is fed back to the relevant departments in the council to then say at future meetings, before we get to future meetings, residents are asking for X, Y, Z, residents are raised concerns around these sorts of issues, that we need to make sure that, they are heard, and if solutions can't be found, then at the next meeting, or when they're on the agenda item for them to present, that they don't that they basically come equipped with having previous knowledge from, when they're not being present. Yeah. Okay. To say the same thing all over again. No, I hear what you're saying. So, I'll make sure that, and I have to say to all residents, thank you so much for all of your time, because it is late in the evening. I appreciate it's half term. For people who've got families at home and children off school, you've taken out your time, and we are grateful that you have come and engaged. And I can just go back on some of the points that we've said. Yes, we'll continue to have in-person meetings moving forward. The last kind of comments about where there's been absence on certain areas, I will continue to invite those relevant people to our meetings so that we can have some good sort of discussion and dialogue, and at least get our issues heard. And then on that note, I think obviously thank you also to Councillor Brown and Sula for attending, because this is obviously a really hot topic across the city, and I'm just grateful that you've taken your time to attend the meeting and answer the questions from the residents of Alum. So thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.